Welcome to the Bonnie Forward Show. I am your host, Bonnie Forward. It is my greatest pleasure to welcome to the show my old friend, Hernando Courtright, the son of the man who, in my opinion, made Beverly Hills what it is today. Welcome to the show, Hernando. Great to see you. What? There we go. There you are. I was going to say, what happened? Hi, Hernando. Okay, so great to see you. Let's start by talking about your famous father and all of his contributions to Beverly Hills. And may I just preface it by saying that I love that our dads were friends. And it was wonderful to see them spend so much time together back when we were growing up. Although you're a tad bit younger than I have many fond memories of your dad and your mom in our house in Brentwood.
Oh,
To those of my viewers who do not know who your dad was, please give us the pleasure of hearing a bit of background on your dad. I also want to, before I forget, want to discuss your dad's relationship with Paul Revere Williams, the very famous architect of many of the greatest homes in Los Angeles, and the man who quite literally gave the Beverly Hills Hotel its iconic face. So, go.
Well, let's see. The quick version is my father was born in Idaho, moved to San Francisco when his mother died. His father moved him there, lived with grandmother. She raised him, went to Berkeley, went to USC graduate school. He then ended up working for Bank of Italy, which then became Bank of America, where he was the youngest vice president. He was sent down to Los Angeles from San Francisco to take over the Beverly Hills Hotel, which was in a receivership. And he was told to spend a year, get it fixed and sell it. And he fixed it and bought it instead and got out of the banking world and became a hotelier. So he was a proprietor from about 1935, maybe, to 1955. That was his reign of the Beverly Hills Hotel. And in that time period, he did many things. Of course, the Polo Lounge, she was responsible for that. Putting the tennis courts in, hiring Paul Williams to build the new wing. And that was a very iconic part of the hotel, which of course, was to this day, Hotel California.
And a lot of people don't know that that's actually Paul Revere Williams's handwriting.
Yes.
As the logo of everything in the Beverly Hills Hotel.
So when my dad bought the hotel, he, after a year, he was new to Los Angeles, but he made fast friends. And some of the investors that helped him buy it, because he didn't have that kind of money, was like Jack Warner from Warner Brothers, of course, Irene Dunn, and Loretta Young, a lot of famous Hollywood celebrities bankrolled him and helped him buy the Beverly Hills Hotel.
And they were also frequent guests, as
I
understand.
Of course. That was a built-in plus to that, right? It was the place to be,
It most certainly was. My God, I mean, it still is. It lives on. And weren't your parents married there?
They were. They were married there in 1955, and he sold it to his partner. He had a partner that came in toward the end. He sold it to him and got out of the hotel business for a few years. And at that point, he became president of Century City with Del Webb and William Zeckendorf Sr. And they developed Century City, what you know it to be today. And Alcoa came in and bought them out in 1961. And at that point, he bought the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. And he had that till the end of 1985 when he sold it. And passed away in early 86. So that's a quick timeline.
That is a very quick timeline. And how did Hernando's Hideaway come about?
Well,
tell us what it is for those who don't know. I know because my father was there all the time with your dad, but other people don't know.
Well, Hernando's Hideaway was a restaurant that was on the, it would be let's see, the the east side of the Beverly Wilshire Hotel.
Mhm.
And it was known to be the William Morris restaurant. The William Morris at the time was right next door across the street. So that was where all the agents were. So that's where a lot of the girls were because they wanted to meet the agents. So it was a hot place to be, Hernando's Hideaway. And I remember at our pool in our house, he had a sign leading down to the pool, down the steps, that said Hernando's Hideaway.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
And it was best Mexican restaurant. My mother was responsible for the decor and making it what it was.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. My father told me that. That's right. And
My mother,
it was
my
her
grandmother,
touch that made it so beautiful.
yes, she had the eye and the touch for the once he bought the hotel for the restaurants, and of course the new wing. She was responsible for the architecture. I mean, not architecture, but the interior design of the hotel.
Oh, and it's stunning to this. I mean, stunning.
Yeah, the Zindabad pub, which was way ahead of his time. The Indian bar, kind of Indian motif. And each floor in the new wing was a different theme. It was a California floor, the champagne floor. So my mother kind of came up with that concept where people would ask to stay on a certain floor because they had a certain look. One was the, I guess, a futuristic floor, very much like 2001,
or the Jetsons.
very, very Jetson-like, exactly. And the double floors, the duplexes, were named after famous designers, Yves Saint Laurent and friends of my mother and father's,
Mhm.
Yeah. The champagne floor, which my mother did for my dad, was named after the famous champagne houses that my dad loved so much. Laurent Perrier, of course, and Chandon, et cetera, et cetera.
I just love that. I mean,
A concept hotel. That was the new wing. That was ahead of his time.
Oh, I see what you. Oh, yeah. I see what you. Yeah, I mean, way ahead of his time.
Where the old wing was just every floor was the same, like most hotels, traditional, beautiful. But the new wing was a concept. Every floor was different.
That's brilliant. I mean, just the fact that your mom was clever enough to come up with that sort of way of thinking. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yes.
And not turn it into ticky-tacky, which would never have worked in Beverly Hills.
Never would have worked. No, especially
works at the Madonna Inn, but it wouldn't have worked in Beverly Hills.
Exactly. Well, remember the hotel had a pool, famous big pool in the back, which was my dad decided the pool's got to go, and that's where the property was where they built the new wing, which had a pool, but not that size. It had an extremely large pool with cabanas, 2-floor cabanas, and a garden. And they decided to raise that and build the new wing there and put a driveway between the two hotels. But one of the main problems was when they had events, there was no parking. You would pull up to the Wilshire, Beverly Wilshire, on Wilshire, but the traffic got backed up there. So they needed a garage. And the new wing was that solved that problem. So people pull in the driveway, you had the runners take the cars and park the cars. And overflow, they parked across the street at Bonnewood Tellers, which was closed at that hour of the night for functions. So they figured that the parking, that was a big problem for big events. Once they had the hotel built, they needed that for the ballroom.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially because you get all those limousines too that are pulling up, and it's just
back in those days, yes, exactly. Yeah. And so where to put people, that was because real estate's a premium. So that solved the problem by building a new wing and having the garage space down below.
Very clever. Very clever. Yeah. I mean, there was no choice.
My mom and dad were a good team together.
Yeah. And they were beautiful people too. They were beautiful people. They never did not attend a party that my parents threw. So I remember them. They would always come in and they were so regal, and I just loved it. And what were you telling me about Acapulco?
So my father decided to enhance Beverly Hills, which at the time was not the way it is now. Now is paparazzi and insanity, but back then it was classy. But he wanted to do was raise the stature, and he decided to make Beverly Hills and Acapulco sister cities. So it was and also it helped with the Mexico and in America, bridging, gaps, or, hands across the border, I guess,
Right.
So,
Right.
and Acapulco was the place to be seen,
Yes, it was.
in the 60s,
Yes.
50s, 60s, early 70s, before it all changed. But
Yeah.
everybody was down there. It was the Hamptons and Saint-Tropez rolled in one.
Yes, exactly. And it was out of the country, which was really great too,
It was an easy flight down there too. Yeah,
Exactly, especially if you had a private plane.
exactly. Like many people did.
And your father's very famous cousin, let us not forget, the very famous actor Leo Carrillo.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah. So there was a lot going on in our lives,
And what was it like to have, an uncle like Leo, I mean, a cousin like, well, be second cousin, like Leo Carrillo in your family? It must have been a wild thing.
Yeah, I mean, besides that, I mean, everybody, all my dad's good friends, we could call them uncles and aunts.
I know we did too, of course.
So, right, you remember that.
Yes.
So to me, everybody was a family. It was Walt Disney, Uncle Walt,
Yeah.
Uncle Ronnie, Ronald Reagan, so everybody was an aunt or Aunt Nancy, Nancy Reagan. So we had an extended family of sorts, So
Yeah.
it was a great time. And to me, they were just people,
It was our normal. It was, I always say, it was our normal.
We didn't know any different.
We knew no different.
Yeah.
Yep, it was our normal.
There was no internet to tell you who these people were, that they were.
Well, it didn't matter.
We knew they were special because they were great people, but we didn't know they were like today,
Yeah, I mean, but it didn't matter.
No, it did not.
That's all we knew. It was our normal. It was that these were the people that were in your home all the time. It's people in my home all the time. That's how you and I grew up together. And it's like,
exactly.
It was just everybody was famous. We just didn't care because it was like I keep saying, it was our normal. It was famous. They were famous. So what? That's just what they did for a living.
We didn't know better because it just seemed to be, that was how it is.
Yeah. Mom and dad's friends,
Exactly,
it's like,
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you told me he's the governor of California. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Bob Hope. There's Bob Hope. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Judy Garland. Okay.
Yeah. Vincent Minnelli. You see Vincent Minnelli.
Yeah.
You go to Trader Vic's. You see all these people. My dad will wave to everybody that come over to my dad's table, and whole court. But he didn't know better.
Well, Dad always used to say that's why Hernando had to build himself his own place and call it Hernando's Hideaway, because he liked to hold court. He wanted everybody to come to him.
Yeah, and to a small little degree, maybe we didn't appreciate it because we didn't understand how great it was.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Now,
I mean, they don't exist now.
No.
So it's, those kind of places just don't exist. I don't care.
There's a different era, that you can't replicate and won't come back.
Nope. Unfortunately,
no. There's only one Beatles. There's only one Rolling Stones. There's only one all this. There's only one, whatever. One yeah. So that era was one of a kind.
And I loved it. I mean, I love the fact that, your father, I think I read, let's see what I have here in my notes, that when your dad sold to Regency International Hotels of Hong Kong, that he said that your dad said he was pleased with the arrangement, and he some hotel spokesman said he put his personal stamp on everything. This was his achievement. And your dad, in an interview in 1982, said, "I never thought of it as a business. For me, it was always more than that. It's stuffy and fatuous, of course, to call running a hotel a labor of love. Right. No one would believe it anyway, but it's true." That's what your dad said. And
I would say the hotel was like his mistress.
There you go. There you go. And your mom was always there, so she could keep an eye on it.
She kept an eye on the mistress.
That's right,
Right?
exactly. What
Yeah.
did you think of it when you were growing up? What did you think when you went in, when he first got the hotel? Because I know you were a little kid, but I mean, we both were. But I mean, what did you think when Dad suddenly, because he sold the Beverly Hills, right?
Yeah,
Beverly
he
Hills
sold the
Hotel?
Beverly Hills before I was born, so I
Right.
grew up on the block. So every day I would pass the Beverly Hills Hotel in a car,
Mhm.
bungalows. So the Beverly Hills was a presence in our life, but I didn't grow up in the Beverly Hills Hotel. Um,
But you did in the Beverly Wilshire.
I didn't, well, yes, I didn't, I grew up in the environment of it,
Right.
because we had a house, but we did live there. Whenever the house needed to get painted, we would move in for a couple of weeks into a suite or something. So off and on, we stayed there, which was kind of fun.
I was going to say, were you like Eloise at the plaza?
It was kind of like that, we created some mischief, as the three of us, my brother, sister, and I, as kids would do,
Of
of course.
course.
And I later on lived there for 1 year after high school. So 1975, 1976. So I did live there, but I was older at that time.
What did you do besides live there?
Oh, I had just graduated high school, so I was going to Santa Monica College.
Uh-huh.
And shortly after, I took a job working at a import-export record store, and I was doing that, and I was trying to be a musician. I played guitar, piano, and sang. I was, hunting in the bands.
Uh-huh.
And I started booking local bands at clubs in Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah.
How
Uh,
old were you?
um, well, after high school, right shortly after those years after high school, yeah. Um, my good friend at the time, Rodney Bingenheimer, and we discovered Van Halen playing covers at Gazzari's, and we got them their first show at the Starwood, and it's in one of their Van Halen books. I'm mentioned in there as the person that got them their first show at the Starwood. And same with Quiet Riot. I got them their first show at the Starwood, their first show in Hollywood, and a few other bands of that nature.
Wow, you little
I
wheeler
was,
dealer.
yeah, I was involved with the Runaways also.
Wow.
Yeah, Joan Jett, Lita Ford, and Cherie Curry, and yeah,
I am shocked.
yeah.
How were you able to do that, Hernando, at that age? You were like your dad.
I was
Wheeler
well,
dealer.
on the Strip, on the Sunset Strip. That's when I say the Strip. For those that don't know, the Sunset Strip.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, but you weren't even 21 years old.
No, no,
Look at it. No, I wasn't.
none of us were.
You stopped me. Need to know that I was 19.
That's why you had fake IDs. Remember those?
I did.
Of course, Bonnie, you never had one. So we
Nobody
actually,
would have believed me.
yeah, we made them up at Beverly High.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What was it like going to Beverly Hills High back then? What was it like?
Well, there was a lot of celebrity kids.
I know.
I mean, Gina Martin, Dean Martin's daughter. There was Billy Shoemaker, whose father was, famous jockey. The Gordys, Motown Records. God, let's see who. There was so many. Sean Cassidy, of course. Who else was there at the time? Dawn Adams' daughter, Cecily Adams, passed away, unfortunately, I think in 2000 of cancer. And Dawn Adams never got over that, losing a daughter. How could you?
Exactly.
But there was, a lot of kids, but everybody was there. Carrie Fisher, of course. Yeah.
Was
So
she in your class?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know Blaise Ballou went there, and he was
Yes.
2 years ahead of you.
Yes.
And the son of like the king surgeon of Beverly Hills in LA. I mean,
there was a lot of characters. I mean, but no one ever really, we were just kids.
exactly.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really register too much, like there was somebody different than you? Because they looked at me as the same as I looked at them, I guess.
Exactly.
Father
Exactly.
has that big building at the end of Rodeo, So to them, it was no different, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You
It's
know,
it's interesting though. I mean, because did people think that your dad was like, did they think he still owned both hotels? Or were people pretty clear that he didn't own the Beverly Hills Hotel anymore?
the
He
lines,
the
the
Beverly
lines blurred, the lines blurred, but
I
I
was
think,
gonna say, yeah.
But he put his name everywhere on the Beverly Wilshire, on the matches,
Mhm.
on the stationery. It was a Hernando Courtright's Beverly Wilshire Hotel. So he was very much, his name was attached to the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in a big way.
Okay, good, good, good. Yeah. Um, that's because just for marketing purposes, that's really, really important.
Yeah.
So let's see, what else can we talk about your dad before we move on to you? Um, let's see. I know the Padrino del Pueblo de Los Angeles. But according to what my research, your dad used to joke that he inherited the honorary title of Padrino del Pueblo de Los Angeles,
The Godfather of Los Angeles,
from
yes.
his cousin,
Yeah, so
Leo Carrillo.
passed on, yeah. So he took that seriously and loved. He I forgot what year it was, but he was in the Rose Parade, I think 1 year or 2 years, riding a horse in a costume, the ranchero costume, which they did that, we would watch it on television. That was my dad. But he loved horses very much so. He was an equestrian, which is where I fell in love with horses too. But I wrote English, he wrote Western. But he loved horses and he loved Mexican culture, even though he was not Mexican. He was of Basque, Irish, Dutch, descent.
Mhm.
My mother was Mexican French, but he loved the Mexican culture so much that he was an honorary Mexican.
Well, Leo Carrillo, though, your dad's cousin but was he the same? Basque? Or was he Mexican? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Who knows? I'd have to Google that, I guess.
I know, right?
What's his name? GTS. Google that shit.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So but yeah, I'm not really sure exactly, but no, he was his name was originally William Courtright, and he found the name Hernando and named himself Hernando.
Oh, so he
Yeah,
invented it.
he invented her. He invented a persona. He invented, like, he was like P.T. Barnum meets like Nelson Rockefeller. He had the business acumen and he had the showmanship aspect. So that's why he ran the hotel. He ran the hotel in a very much both ways, the showmanship along with the business sense.
Well, I love the fact that a former king, I mean, your dad had people, I mean, he had the most famous people in the world staying, and I'm talking about kings and emperors and stuff like that staying at the hotel. And because I read this, that a former king remarked early in your dad's career that his hotels made him feel regal in a way that his crown never did. And I thought that was a very impressive statement.
It is,
That's a
yes.
pretty cool thing for a king to say. I don't know if it was maybe the King of Monaco. I don't know.
My father had a saying, "Mi casa es su casa."
Mhm.
My house is your house.
Right.
And that's how he greeted people like they were coming home. People felt like they were at home when they stayed at the Wilshire. And his friends and special guests would receive a basket of fruit, maybe a bottle of champagne, maybe flowers, maybe all three, depending on the level of friendship and the level of stature.
Well, it paid off.
Yes,
You
he
know,
he took care of
seriously.
he took care of his friends, and whether they were true friends or friends, as they say, running a hotel, but he knew how to, the hospitality. That's the key word, is hospitality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To the highest. I mean, to the nth degree. I mean, your father.
Yes. Well, the hotel had many awards.
Yeah.
The hotel had many awards lined on the wall, as one of the top hotels always every year in and year out.
Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, just fantastic.
One of the leading hotels of the world, and all the magazines who received those awards, they give those plaques, and they would be lined up in the hallway. So he was very proud of that.
Which is just incredible. I mean, just incredible. I mean, I'm so impressed by everything that your dad did and accomplished in his life. It's just
thank you, Bonnie.
Amazing. He really used his life and, for the betterment of everybody.
Yeah, he reinvented himself from being a banker and discovered the hospitality world and fell into that. That was his calling.
And fell in love with it, which makes it even better.
Yes.
It wasn't a job, like he said. It sounds stupid to say that, that I love what I did and I did what I loved, stuff like that, but I truly did. And that's really, not a lot of people can say that, especially in a high pressure job like your father's.
It's like finding a pair of shoes that fits. He fell right into those shoes and never took them off.
Exactly. And the soles never wore out.
Yeah, exactly, right?
So now that we've discussed your incredible, extraordinary pedigree, let's talk about you, Hernando. Tell everybody what you're up to, and then we'll wrap the show up because we're running out of time.
Well, okay. So, quick version, I guess. My mom died when I was in high school. I was 17. She died of cancer. And our life changed after that, of course. It never was the same. I got involved in the music side of things, even though my dad would have preferred me to go into the hotel business. But I was in love with rock and roll since I was a kid. And I played guitar, I played piano, I sang and tried that. But I think after I saw Eddie Van Halen play guitar, I decided, well, maybe I shouldn't be playing guitar. And I was pretty good, but I decided to go on the other side of the desk. And I discovered a few bands. I ended up getting a job at Warner Brothers Records in New York. I was brought to New York when I was 22 to become an executive. And then I ended up at A&M Records in New York, running the talent division for A&M in New York. And then while I was doing that, I met my wife. It was not my wife at the time when I met her, of course. She was an executive at Epic Records. And we got married and started a management company in the late 80s. Had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, who are now 36 and going on 33. And raised them here in New York City. Went out to Los Angeles like 3 or 4 times a year because that's where the music business was besides New York. And our kids fell in love with Los Angeles and the culture. And my daughter fell in love with it so much that she said, why don't we live out here? She said, one day I'm going to. And she did. About 2 years after she graduated college, she moved out there and she loves it. And my son, he's a New Yorker. He's in Tribeca.
Okay.
He loves Los Angeles. He loves going to the Beverly Hills Hotel and the Beverly Wilshire and discovering Granddad's legacy.
Which is marvelous. I mean, what a legacy. I mean,
yes.
And I'm sure you regaled him with stories along the way as well.
Oh, yes. And he loves finding things on eBay. There's people sell Hernando Courtright matches and ashtrays, and he finds pictures and things. There's like a subculture, I guess, out there. And he likes to find those and send me the links. And every so often he'll buy something.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't have a lot of that still left.
I have some, but not much. There's a long story about the 4th wife, which we will not discuss.
She who shall not be mentioned.
Yes, exactly. We'll leave that one alone. And a lot of things just disappeared. So, yes. Yes, right.
Oh, look at that. Oh,
yeah,
oh, it's gone. Oops.
What happened? Yes. Look over there. What? Yeah. So we do have some stuff, and not to the degree we should have, but yeah. But anyway, my son and daughter love the legacy of my dad and my mother.
And so much to be proud of.
Yeah.
I mean,
So yeah, so in New York, and now what do I do now? I do I'm in wine, I'm in fragrance and beauty. I'm a journalist. I write for one of the top leading fragrance blogs in the world, top 5, Saint Laurent. I worked at Sherry Lehman, which was up until recently, we just closed. The wine store. It was the Tiffany's of the wine world, wine store retail in America. And I worked there for 14 years, part-time as a senior wine specialist. And also I'm in real estate with my wife. My wife is one of the top brokers at Douglas Elliman, residential real estate. I'm on her team, so I'm with the band, as you say.
cool.
And I'm a board member of 3 different charities. So I'm very involved in cancer, and probably because my mom and losing a cousin to breast cancer at the age of 40, I kind of fell into that world of learning what the nonprofit world was about. And I was asked to be a board member of a breast cancer foundation, which I had involved with a breast cancer album I put out with featuring Joan Jett back in 2002.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and it was to honor my cousin. I put this album in her honor. And through that, I got involved in 3 other foundations that asked me to be board members. So
Wonderful.
I love that world, of course, and doing good.
Well, when are you coming out next?
Hopefully later this year. My daughter is here visiting well, us in New York, so we'll have to go visit her probably sometime before the end of the year. Yeah, so
It better be, because I'd really like to see you in person.
I know, yes,
long.
Exactly, so but yeah, but love LA still. LA is my hometown, but I'm a New Yorker, but Los Angelino also.
There you go. So you're
Yes.
bi-coastal, as
Yes.
Peter Allen would say.
Yes, exactly.
The late great Peter Allen. Bi-coastal.
Yes, the Sunset Strip is my happy place,
Yeah, a lot of us.
You too, Bonnie. Starwood,
Oh,
the whiskey, the Roxy, the Rainbow, the Zaris. Well, Starwood was not. Carlos and Charlie's, and yeah, there was so much great. The Ladone.
Yep.
We keep naming all these great places we used to.
I know, right?
That's another world that doesn't exist anymore.
Nope. Just like the record store Sane and Insane in Santa Monica.
Exactly.
They were run by 2 beatniks, and I just loved it.
I know, right? Yeah.
They were all black. I loved it. I know, right? Yeah. They wore the turtlenecks.
I have my summer colors on now, but I'll put my autumn colors, which are the same. In a week or 2.
Your goth autumn colors.
I'll bring my autumn wardrobe out. Black and more black. Yes.
I love it. Well, Hernando, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Bonnie, it was so fabulous that you reached out to me and gave me the honor to be on your show. That was very special.
Well, you have got such an interesting inside look, into such a rich history of our beloved Beverly Hills. And I just thank you so much for coming on. I love you, my old friend.
I love you too. And I'll tell you some good stories when we get together.
There you go.
Once we
I bet you can get us a table at the Polo Lounge.
Yes, we'll do that, and we'll have drinks and tell stories that we can't tell here that are not for that consumption yet.
It's not for public consumption, exactly, and I can't wait.
Maybe the book, maybe the book.
Exactly. Well,
Bonnie, well, thank you.
Thank you, Hernando, and that brings us to the end of our show. So, as always, love and light to all of you, and peace out.
And I'll tell the Eagles you say hi tonight.
Oh, please do.
Hotel California.
Please do. All right, love you, darling. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Life's been good to us.
It has. So
far.